Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today for our Google Hangout on Undergraduate Financial Aid. Today we're going to we're here to answer any questions you might have about your financial aid, about the application process or receiving financial aid. Just think about what questions you might have, and feel free to submit them to us through the Q&A box on the Google Hangout. So first, I want to start by introducing myself. My name is Noemi Tagorda, and I am the Senior Assistant Dean for the USC Financial Aid Office. And I also want to introduce the rest of the team that we've gathered here today, perhaps the most knowledgeable people in the Financial Aid Office. And we're all very knowledgeable, but these people are really fantastic. And I'd like for them to introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Jessica and Lori.
Go ahead. Hi, I'm Lori Council, and I'm here today representing the Office of Student Financial Services. You may be signing your Federal Perkins loan through that website, and the University Cashier's Office. I'll be able to answer any billing questions.
Hi everybody, welcome. My name is Jessica Medina, and I am an Associate Director of the Outreach Unit here on campus, so welcome.
And Casey and Christy.
Okay, I'm Casey Woods. I'm a financial aid counselor here at USC. Been here for about 3 years, and I'm somewhat a generalist. I do a little bit of everything for the financial aid office.
Hi, I'm Christy Culpepper, and I work in financial aid, doing outreach or on-demand counselor. If you have any questions, if you've ever called the number or come to the lobby, you've probably met me or some of the staff.
Leslie and Millie.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Leslie Fafsa. I'm a counselor here with the Financial Aid Office.
Hi everyone, I'm Millie. Like Casey and Leslie and Christy, I'm a counselor here at the Financial Aid Office. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
Thanks a lot, guys. So I'm going to start by giving you all just a very brief overview about the financial aid process here at USC. Okay, first, I'm sure you've already done this, but the most important, or the first part you really want to make sure you've done in order to apply for financial aid is to submit the Fafsa, or the free application for federal student aid. And that can be done at fafsa.gov. Once you've done that, we hope you will submit the CSS profile, which is, unlike the Fafsa, is not free, but it is a required document from the Financial Aid Office. We might also request some additional information, such as your parents' tax information or other documents, and we hope that you will pay attention to the notifications that will be coming through the Financial Aid Required Information and Forms webpage, and submit those within 10 days from their initial request. That's pretty much the financial aid process in a nutshell, but I also want to go over the USC Fast Page, which I'm sure at this point you're pretty familiar with. And if you're not, be sure to take some time today to log in and check it out. So the USC Fast Page is a financial aid summary and tasks online website. Essentially, at that website, you'll get a sense of what documents the Financial Aid Office will be requiring from you. In addition, once you've submitted everything and the Financial Aid Office has had a chance to review it, you will also receive your financial aid summary, which outlines which aid you are eligible for. And finally, perhaps the most important part as you're approaching your enrollment at USC would be the tasks, which tells you what other things you might need to do in order for your aid to credit. As we approach fall enrollment, it's essential that you keep up with that part of the page to ensure that your financial aid is dispersed in a timely manner. So right now we don't have any questions, but again, I want to welcome everyone who is viewing today to submit any questions using the Hangouts box. It looks something like a Rubik's Cube. You click on that and submit a question for us so we can help you out. In the meantime, I would like to ask some of our participants to perhaps think about what tips you might have for our incoming class and see if you might want to share that with them. Does anybody have a tip that you'd like to share with our incoming students?
Sure.
Okay, Lori's got one. Go for it, Lori.
It's primarily because billing just occurred for all of our registered students. So if you've received the bill, which you did, Please remember that your federal financial aid hasn't posted to that. We've gotten a lot of questions and emails regarding that already this morning. The date, the earliest that could post is August 12th. And you can, as Noemi said, you can deduct the projected aid, and I'm sure they'll go over the whole budgeting worksheet if you wanted to come up with a more significant balance on that. But it's still early. Just because we've generated the bill, that bill isn't due until August 19th, so you still have time. Calm down, relax. The aid will come in, the balance on it will be adjusted. You're just getting bombarded with calls.
Okay, thanks a lot, Lori. Yeah, as Lori mentioned, I think something that's really important to remember is that for federal and state aid, that aid generally does not disperse until 10 days before the start of your classes. So if you have seen your bill, you have seen your charges to your student account, you may also have seen the USC-based aid, such as university grant or scholarships, also credit. But at this time, federal aid has not yet dispersed. So there may be a difference. Don't panic too much. What we do want to encourage you to do, though, is check out the tasks part of your Fast page to see if there are any additional items that you need to take care of before your aid disperses. And we really appreciate your help in getting those things done. So when you start here at USC, your aid is dispersed, you're ready to go and to focus on classes. Does anybody else have a tip that you'd like to share with our incoming class? Oh, Jessica does. Thanks, Jessica.
It's kind of just piggybacking on what Lori was talking about, is we find that a lot of students and parents, they have difficulty actually calculating what their portion of responsibility is going to be and estimating how much of that financial aid will disperse 10 days before the first day of class. And we actually have a tool on the Fast page that Noemi was mentioning earlier, which is called your Undergraduate Planning Worksheet. And on there, you're able to utilize your e-pay account and list out your charges for the semester. And your financial aid will automatically, all the gift aid will self-populate. And then you're able to work through the loan amounts to see how much you would actually like to borrow if you're planning to borrow any additional funds in a Stafford loan or a Parent Plus loan. And I think that'll kind of help the process move along a little bit more.
Thanks a lot, Jess. So we have a question coming in right now from Anna, and I'd like to ask Casey and Christy perhaps to take this on. And it's just, we have Anna asking, what's the overview of the work study process? So do you guys mind answering that question for us?
All right, sure. So for an overview of the work study program, basically you have an amount in your package that you are budgeted for to receive for work study, which basically means that you can make up to that amount for a job on campus that's work study eligible. So if it's like $3,000, for example, then you can basically make up to, if you're making $10 an hour, you can work up to the amount until you make $3,000. And how you get a work study job is the week before school starts, during new student orientation, they have a career fair, job fair for work study students, and you can find a job there. Also through the website, there's a they'll have listings of jobs that are available for you throughout the year to apply for.
Highly recommend taking advantage of work study. It's a great way to meet new people at USC, to kind of get that work experience as you're building your resume, and learn how to balance school and work together. I was a work study student here at USC, and it was a fantastic experience. Sometimes it can really lead to some great connections. You can get some great letters of recommendation all through your work study.
And also, once you get the job, they basically work with payroll to do everything. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do anything else with us in the financial aid office. The only thing you need to do is just get the job that's work study eligible, then they'll do the rest and manage it all.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate that. Okay, you know, we don't have another question right now, but I do want to ask Leslie and Millie something that does come up pretty often, and the question is, how do students pay for books? What resources are available? How do they receive the financial aid that might have been allocated for that purpose in order to cover their book expense. Leslie and Millie, do you mind talking about that a little bit?
Okay, sure. One thing I would encourage students to do is obviously make sure that you have an e-pay account set up so that you can go in and take a look at your billing statement and see what charges are there. Sometimes people are not aware that there are charges that are not necessarily part of the estimated cost of attendance that might actually be taking up some of the aid that you have allocated toward books, things like the student health insurance, you know, a larger meal plan option maybe that you made over and above what we already have estimated for you, which would be anything in excess of the cardinal meal plan, for example. And then there's a process where we can actually adjust your own budget to help absorb those costs and provide some additional loan eligibility for your family. So that would be something to take a look at. You would see in your USC Fast account page in the document library an option for appeal for increase in cost of attendance, and that is how you would let us know that you would like us to increase your budget for any costs that you see there. Also, that kind of brings up if you're covered under your family's health insurance plan, you could contact the USC Student Health Insurance Office at this time and find out how your family could submit a waiver for that cost, and then if that's approved, that amount would be removed from your student billing account. So those are all kind of ways to help manage your actual cost of attendance that you're seeing now that you've registered for classes. Millie, do you want to?
Yeah, so like Christy and Casey were saying before, work study is a really, really great opportunity. Another great thing about it is that it's just like a job, so whatever amount of hours you're working, you do get a paycheck. So you can use that paycheck to actually pay for, you know, your books. And then some of the ways to minimize your costs to pay for books would be, you know, to like rent them on Amazon. You don't actually always have to go and buy the new versions. So yeah, you can look for ways to rent them or to buy used books, which would actually minimize your costs for books and supplies.
Thank you guys, those are great answers. I also have another question here which we hear often from students is, in addition to the gift-based aid or need-based aid they may have received from the university, where can they look for additional scholarships? And Lori, I was wondering if you guys can maybe address that point.
Sure. So if you actually look at our financial aid homepage, so it's financialaid.usc.edu. We just changed it up, so I'm trying to get used to the new website. But if you actually go to the homepage of our website, in the top right-hand corner, if you click on Toolbox, there is, it's called Academic Works, but it also says USC Scholarship, I believe. And if you click on that, then that has some of the scholarships that are available through the university. Sometimes they're from departments, sometimes they're just from other offices on campus. But I think that would be your #1 thing to actually go and view. Also, when you meet your academic advisor, that may be something you want to possibly bring up in your conversation is, are there any scholarship opportunities through your department specifically, and maybe what the process is to actually apply for those. For this upcoming academic year, I can almost guarantee that the funds have been exhausted for the 16-17 academic year. So you're really doing all of the prep work for your 2017-2018 academic year at this point. Anything to add?
No.
That's okay. Great, thanks a lot, Jessica. I have a question here from Chandler, and the question is, SCA requires an expensive personal computer purchase and suggests requesting an adjustment to financial aid. How does that work? Can need-based aid be increased? And I believe Leslie will be answering that question.
Thank you, Chandler, for your question. It's a really good question, and I'm sure many students will have similar issues. It kind of piggybacks onto what I was talking about just a few minutes ago with respect to the actual charges that you see on your student billing account at this point. The requirement for you to buy a computer that has certain capabilities in order to complete your studies within the School of Cinematic Arts also would fall into the budget appeal category. So what you can do is you can log into your USC Fast Page and access the financial aid document library, and you'll see the appeal for increase in cost of attendance form. And once you open it up, you'll see all the different options that we can consider for a budget increase, and a computer is one of them. So what we would need for you to do is submit the form, let us know how much the computer is that you're planning to purchase, and you can log on to either the USC bookstore web page and see, just include a screenshot of the computer that you're planning to purchase, or if you're thinking about buying one from Apple or Best Buy, etc. We just need the documentation showing the price of the computer that you're planning to purchase and its specifications. And then once we have that, we can review your request, and just so that you know, for students in the School of Cinematic Arts, there's a maximum increase that we can make, which would be $4,000. And any increase that we are able to make for you, it would result in loan eligibility. So your question about whether or not need-based aid can be increased after we increase your budget would be, the answer would be no, not need-based aid, but we can certainly increase your budget for loan eligibility, whether it's your student loans, depending on whether or not you already have the maximum, or possibly a Parent Plus loan. So I hope that.
Thanks a lot, Leslie. Okay, so I do, Leslie mentioned something really important, which is your eligibility for need-based aid, and specifically loans. So I'd like to ask Casey and Christy to talk a little bit about the application process for our federal direct loan. So I'm going to pass it over to them, and they'll let you know a little bit more about that process.
Okay, so the Stafford loans are loans that every student is eligible for. So one thing you want to just know that if you don't see it in your financial aid package, you're still eligible for Stafford loans. And you can see them on your Fast Page at the very bottom. It will say loan eligibility, and you can click to look at how much you're actually eligible for. So for incoming freshmen, the standard amount is $5,500. Just the difference you'll see is if it's unsubsidized or subsidized based upon need. So that's the first thing. If you don't see it, you can still be eligible for it. But if you do see it, you actually also might be eligible for more if it's less than the $5,500 if you're a freshman. But the steps you'd want to take for the Stafford loan, first you want to do the Stafford loan request form. So that will show up as a required document. If you don't see it, you'll find it in the document library. It's under Federal Stafford loan request form, which is it's alphabetized, it'll be under F. And then you fill that out, and you basically let us know how much of the loan you want to take out, whether it's a portion or all of it. And then once we receive that loan, then we'll process it and certify your loans for the amount that you asked for. And then you'll be directed to a few more things. You'll have to do the master promissory note as well as the entrance loan counseling. Both of those are one-time things you don't need to do again in the rest of the time you're at USC, but you'll need to do for your first semester. And once we have those, then your loans can be processed and be dispersed. And they get dispersed 10 days before class starts, so it'll be August 12th.
And the way that you even start the process to become eligible to get Stafford loans is you want to complete the Fafsa, the free application for federal student aid. And kind of a misconception about student loans is that they're not part of financial aid. They actually are a part of financial aid. So if you do want to have eligibility to receive them, you still want to do that 2016-2017 Fafsa. And the lender is the federal government. And one great thing about Stafford student loans is that you can defer them while you're in school as long as you're at least half-time or above, so 6 units or above. And then let's say that you want to go on to graduate school or professional school, like you want to go to law school or medical school, you can ask for your loans to be deferred as well.
And then also just I mentioned a bit earlier the unsubsidized versus subsidized. So like I said, some students will receive both. Some students may only receive unsubsidized. The difference between those, if you see them in your package, is the subsidized loan basically means that your interest is not accruing while you're in school. The government's subsidizing and paying your interest for you. The unsubsidized loan, you have to start paying your interest right away. So the interest accrues from the day it disperses, but like Christy was saying, actually you don't need to start actually paying it until 6 months after graduation. It just starts accruing, and you'll see that if you go and look at your loans that it's been gaining interest over that time. So you want to exhaust your subsidized options first before you use any unsubsidized loan. Also, the other thing too is the entrance loan counseling. Like I said, you have to do it online. But we also do have it in person as well. So you have to attend it during new student orientation. There is in-person counseling, which will have one of our representatives come and talk to the students, and you'll hear about loans, learn about them, how to manage them, and everything. If you can't attend it for any reason, then we also have that available online as a webinar later on. You'll get a link for. But it's definitely best to do it in person, especially that if you have any questions, we'll be there to answer them.
And then another great resource for students is SALT, which is a website that students can kind of go and take a look at. There are tons of videos on there, great resources to help you and also help parents with budgeting and figuring out how, what's the best way to pay for college, how to start to save money, how to build positive credit. There's great resources on SALT. So if you go on our website, there's a link on there as well, so that you can access the information.
Thanks a lot, guys. That's really helpful information. One thing that we really haven't talked too much about, but would be related to the idea of budget appeals, would be the Federal Direct Plus loans. Could we have Leslie and Millie talk a little bit more about the application process for Federal Direct Plus loans?
Sure. Sure. So the Federal Direct Parent Plus loan is a loan that would be under the parents. The parents would be taking out this loan, and it's basically an unsubsidized loan, which also means that the interest is accruing from the first point of disbursement. So the difference between the Parent Plus loan and the Stafford loans is that one, the parent is taking it out, and two, it does require a credit check. So they would need to complete that application first to see if their credit is approved in order to take out the loan. So you're going to need to submit the online application. It's not something that we include in the financial aid package, so you'd have to go to studentloans.gov to apply for it, and also to sign the master promissory note. And if your parent does apply for it and their credit is denied, there are other options that they can pursue, which we can discuss with you as well.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Millie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's actually another topic that I think would be really helpful to cover, and I think we've touched upon these, but I would like to go into them in a little bit more depth. I'm going to pass it on to Lori to talk about the payment plan a little bit, if you don't mind.
Okay. So our payment plan is open to all registered students without prior balance. So all of our new students are eligible as long as you're registered for classes. And basically it's a line of credit that you apply for online on your e-pay homepage that gives you the option of dividing the semester's payment into 5 installments. Our payment plan for the fall semester should be open tomorrow morning, hopefully, if everything goes well. And again, you would need to do the calculations. So many students wait until after the federal aid has applied August 12th or closer to the settlement deadline to enroll in the payment plan. The structure of the payment plan is that payments would be due upon enrollment through December for the fall semester. So if it opens tomorrow morning, you're certainly eligible to enroll as early as tomorrow morning, but you'd be required to make a payment immediately upon enrollment. So technically that would be your August payment. If you wait until the settlement deadline, there's no penalty for doing so. You'll probably have a clearer picture of the real balance on your student account because the federal aid will have posted by then, and you're making your August payment a little bit later than August 3rd, on August 19th, which will just give you a little less time between payment 1 and payment 2, but again, no penalties for waiting until you can see a clearer picture. As I said, everyone's eligible for the payment plan. The only method of payment, though, is a deduction from a checking or savings account. So once you enroll, you're going to link the payment plan to a bank account. And the initial payment you'll initiate, and then the subsequent payments will be automatically deducted from that same account on the 3rd of every month from September through December. And we can answer a lot of questions about it. If you are attempting to enroll and have more questions, certainly feel free to email us, our Student Financial Services office, or to give us a call and we can walk you through the process.
That's definitely a great resource. I encourage everyone who's thinking about the payment plan to definitely call Student Financial Services for more information. A question that I often get from families, Lori and Jessica, is, well, can a family use, for example, the Parent Plus loan and the payment plan in order to cover their expected family contribution, or can only one be used at a time?
Do you want me to answer that?
Sure. Okay.
So the answer is you can use a variety of different payments, and to be honest with you, a lot of our families do that. Is they're using financial aid as a source of financial aid, and then they will usually figure out what is financially feasible with the monthly payment plan first, because again, loans should really be the last option that you're looking at. So families will typically figure out what's financially feasible for them with the 5-month payment plan, and typically borrow a Federal Direct Parent Plus loan for the remaining amount. And that planning worksheet that I mentioned earlier will kind of walk you through that process as well. If not, you can always give our office a call and we can walk you through that. But the answer is yes, families do use a variety of those different payment options to finance the bill per semester. And just one quick note about the loans is that you do have to borrow the loans per term. Same thing with the 5-month payment plan, is you set that up per semester. So when you receive your bill this fall, it's not a bill for the entire academic year, which I know that sometimes is the way that it works for high school students, is that you're kind of billed up front for the full academic year. But here you are billed per semester, and the loans that you apply for and the payment plans that you apply for are for that semester.
And one other quick note on the payment plan is that it restricts refunds. So if you're a little bit off on the calculation and say you've over borrowed and there's a credit balance sitting on the student account, if you're a participant on the payment plan, you're not eligible for that refund. We would instead reduce your payment plan line of credit so that you're responsible for less in the monthly payments.
Is there a fee for the payment plan?
There is a $50 per semester application fee to participate in the payment plan, yes.
Okay, that's great information. I also have a question about private loans. Do you have any specific advice about private loans as compared to Parent Plus loans?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Well, it really just depends on the family itself. Obviously, we would, and I think Casey mentioned this a little bit earlier, is you kind of want to start with your subsidized loans first and then move to unsubsidized, which the Parent Plus loan is an unsubsidized loan. Just to talk a little bit about the differences between a private student loan and a Federal Direct Parent Plus loan, is the private student loan is, one, going to be in the name of the student. 2, it is credit-based, so typically for some of our students that do borrow a private loan, their parents typically will go on as a cosigner because they can't apply for the loan on their own. And then it just really depends on repayment structure after that. You want to make sure that you read through the fine detail of all of the application process, or when you're going through that private loan process, because you will find that some loans are variable and some loans have a fixed interest rate. And what that means is if the interest rate is variable, it can go from, let's say, 3.5% to 6.5%, depending on your repayment structure, whereas a fixed interest rate is going to stay fixed for the lifetime of the loan. And I know that this is a lot of information that's kind of being thrown at you, But if you actually visit our website and you go to the private loan section of our website, you can go to what's called ELM for undergraduate students, which is ELM, and that is a tool that we have made available to our students that you can do an easy comparison of the private loans that are available. The thing that I want you to keep in mind is that you should be doing your research with these private loans, especially if they are variable interest rates. And on that ELM website, you're able to do a comparison between the different repayment options as well. I don't know if I missed anything.
I think you got it all. That is a lot of information, Jessica, but thanks. It's very helpful, I think, for our students to know. You know, one other thing about, I think, our USC population is that many of our students come in with outside agency scholarships, and that would be scholarships from the local clubs that they might be participating with. And one question that we often get is, how do students notify USC that they've obtained these scholarships, and what can they expect in terms of disbursement? And I was wondering if Casey and Christy might be able to answer that question. And I also, before we go there, I just want to invite our viewers one last time to submit questions to us. So if we have some more questions, we're happy to answer them.
We are so excited when we hear that students get outside scholarships, and we definitely want to work with them when they receive them. So what you can do is when you get notified of receiving a scholarship, either with an email or a letter, you want to upload that and let USC know. And there's a section in your USC Fast in the document library where you can upload your scholarship notification letter. And that's how we can find out what's happening with your scholarship. And you'll want to do that as soon as you receive them so we can start working on those.
Yeah, and if you get a check from the scholarship group, then you also want to send that to our aid coordination office here in financial aid, and they'll coordinate that as well, and then send it over to the cashier's office to get dispersed into your account. The number one thing you also want to know for scholarships, if they do come in, is that they will usually go on top of your financial aid need-based aid, which is great, but it can reduce your aid eventually. So if you haven't notified us of it yet and you've received something, just know it possibly can reduce like your grant money if there's no room to add it on top of other aid. We try to do everything we can to make sure we don't reduce your gift aid, but it can have an effect on it.
And one thing also you want to do is if you do send a scholarship check to USC, please make sure somewhere on the envelope or on the check that you put your USC ID number on there, and that will help us to process it faster.
Thank you, guys. It's really helpful. You know, we're going to cover one more topic before we close out. I think we have some additional questions, but I was wondering if Leslie could talk a little bit about what happens if a Parent Plus loan application has been denied.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that, Noem. That's one thing that Millie mentioned a little bit when she talked about the Parent Plus loan. Sometimes your parents will apply for a loan and the credit will not be approved by the federal government. So, and we know that people have concerns about this. So, one thing when your parent applies for the loan, they can select the option to have someone endorse the loan so that they would have a cosigner for the loan. They can also select the option to appeal the credit decision. So those are two things that are available. If they appeal the decision, they would work with the Department of Education to provide some additional information. If they have someone who can co-sign the loan for them, then that co-signer would log on and add their information to the loan in order for the loan to go through. And then barring either of those two options, students have the opportunity, if the plus loans, the credit's been denied, to appeal for additional unsubsidized Stafford loan. So remember, that's the loan that the government is not paying the interest on while you're in school. And as a first or second year student, you could appeal for an additional $4,000 for the year in unsubsidized eligibility. When you're a third or fourth year student, it would be an additional $5,000. So that's just another key piece of information we want to let you guys know about that too.
Thanks, Leslie. It looks like we have a question coming in from Anna, and let's see, her question is regarding about scholarship checks. She wants to know, if someone were to receive a scholarship in the middle of the year, how does one go about repaying federal or private loans if they're already paid off on their bill? So do we have a volunteer to answer that question? I'm going to give it
I can answer it.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, sorry. So if you receive a scholarship in the middle of the year and it comes in and you want to reduce your federal or private loans, so if you're already up to the maximum, the loans, like the plus loan and the private loan, are already up to the maximum of your budget, we actually have to automatically reduce your plus loan or private loan to fit in the new scholarship anyway. So we will do it for you. If you get a $1,000 scholarship, we will reduce the plus loan or private loan by $1,000 to fit it in. Otherwise, if you just receive a $1,000 scholarship and you're not filled all the way up to the cost of attendance and financial aid, but you just still don't need now $1,000 of your loans, you can request to us to reduce it. So in your document library, there's an area there to request a change in your loan amount, and we can reduce it, or you can just upload a letter saying like, hey, I want to reduce my loans by $1,000, and then we'll process that request and reduce your private loan or your plus loan by the amount that you requested. If you do that, then the interest and fees do go back to the lender as well. So if you do get a $1,000 scholarship, make sure that you ask us to do it if you aren't sure, because if you go and pay the lender the $1,000, you still have to pay the interest that has been accruing on that $1,000 in that time. But if we do it, then we can just we'll send back the interest and the fees as well. You have up until 120 days after the end of the semester to request a reduction in your loan amount, and that's for the interest and the fees going back as well. So just keep that in mind.
Thanks, Casey. We have some questions that aren't in our official Q&A box, but they've been asked online, so I'm going to go ahead and share them with you. We have a question from Ryan. It looks like he is a transfer student, and he wants to know how housing affects his financial aid. Do we have a volunteer to answer that question? Oh, Leslie? Okay.
Sure, I'll be happy to answer that. I'm not sure exactly what is meant, but I'll just cover housing in general and how it affects your aid. When you apply for financial aid, you let us know when you fill out your forms that you're either planning to live on or off campus. And if you're a transfer student, you might be wondering what happens if you end up living in an apartment, an off-campus apartment. So what you want to do is pay attention to the amount for housing that we have and the estimated cost of attendance. And if for some reason you're going to be living in an off-campus apartment and we've budgeted you to be on campus, just know that the amount is the same whether you live on campus or off. But if you have signed a lease for an apartment that is maybe a little bit over what we have in the cost of attendance, which is just under $1,000 for rent this year, then you can submit the budget appeal form along with a copy of your lease, and we can consider an increase to your cost of attendance. Again, it's for loan eligibility, it's not for need-based financial aid, but we could help you possibly that way. Another thing you would want to know that as an undergraduate, the maximum amount we would approve would be $1,200 per month for rent. So if you're paying an amount above that, and you know, again, we hope you won't have to, but we would only be able to approve up to a maximum of $1,200 a month. The other thing you want to know is, depending on how many people are on your lease and have signed your lease, we'll be, you know, dividing up the full amount of the rent by the number of people on the lease. So I hope I haven't confused you, but in any event, just know that that's we're somewhat flexible with that, depending on what your actual costs are. And obviously, you could give our office a call if you have any questions that, you know, pertain to your actual rent payment, and we'll be happy to help you.
Thanks, Leslie. We do have one more question from Ryan, and he's wondering if he can apply for the Plus loan, Parent Plus loan, if his parents can apply for the Parent Plus loan before he has enrolled. And Jessica is wondering if you could answer that question.
Sure. So for the Parent Plus loan, yes, your parents can at least start the process of applying for the loan before you've actually enrolled for your courses. Just keep in mind that, I know, and we've been mentioning it a lot today, that federal financial aid will disperse 10 days before the first day of class, but part of that is that we actually confirm your enrollment. So although you can apply for the Federal Direct Parent Plus loan, or your parents can apply for it before you've actually enrolled in your classes, we won't disperse any funds until 10 days before the first day of class, and 2, that we have confirmed enrollment. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands the difference between Stafford and Parent Plus loan. So Stafford, the Federal Direct Stafford loan, is a loan in the name of the student. So parents are not eligible to apply for a Federal Direct Stafford loan. The Federal Direct Parent Plus loan is a loan in the name of the parent. Okay. And obviously the student can apply for the parent loan because it would have to be in the name of the parent.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Jessica. So it looks like those are the questions we have for today. We want to thank everybody for participating. As always, if you have any questions, you can reach us through the Contact Us form on our webpage. And our webpage is financialaid.usc.edu. In addition, you can give us a call at 213-740-4444. Again, the number is 213-740-4444. We wish you the best of luck as you start your journey here at USC. We're always here to help, and we encourage you to ask us questions, to contact us in the format that you prefer, either through an email, on the phone, or you can visit us in person if you choose when you come to campus. And we wish you the best of luck again, and take care. Bye.
Bye. Fight on.